There is a strange point in personal finance where money begins to feel different. It is not when you receive your first paycheck, and it is not necessarily when your income reaches a certain salary. For many people, the real psychological change begins when they finally have enough money sitting in an account that one unexpected expense no longer feels like a financial emergency. Reaching that point can be surprisingly difficult, and for many households, the first $10,000 feels much harder to build than the numbers initially suggest. Imagine someone earning a reasonable income in the United States who decides to become more financially organized. They create a savings account, set a goal of $10,000, and assume that if they simply save consistently, they will eventually get there. On paper, the calculation looks straightforward. Saving $500 a month would produce $6,000 after 1 year and $12,000 after 2 years, before considering any interest. But real life does not follow a spreadsheet. A car needs maintenance, a medical bill arrives, insurance costs increase, a friend gets married, rent goes up, or a few expensive months appear at exactly the wrong time. The problem is not always that the person cannot save. The problem is that their savings are competing against a financial system that constantly creates new demands for the money. This is one reason the first $10,000 can feel disproportionately difficult. When you start from zero, every financial surprise has the potential to pull you backward. If you have $300 saved and your car suddenly requires $800 of repairs, the entire financial plan can appear to collapse. You are not simply losing $800. You are losing months of progress, and psychologically, that can make saving feel pointless. The person begins to think, every time I save money, something happens and takes it away. That belief can become more damaging than the expense itself because it changes future behavior. There is also an important mathematical reason the early stage feels slow. When your savings balance is small, almost all of the progress has to come directly from your income. If you have $1,000 invested or sitting in a savings account, the money itself is not doing much work compared with the amount you contribute. Even a meaningful return on $1,000 produces only a relatively small dollar amount. The early stage is therefore dominated by contributions, not growth. You are building the foundation manually, one paycheck at a time. This creates a psychological illusion. People often look at stories about investing and compound growth and imagine that money eventually starts multiplying on its own. But compounding becomes more noticeable after a meaningful base has been established and enough time has passed. At the beginning, the most important number is usually not the return on your money. It is the amount of money you are able to consistently keep. Consider two people who both invest $500 a month. The first person has almost nothing saved, while the second already has $50,000 invested. They contribute the same amount every month, but the second person's existing capital gives market growth a much larger base to work with. A hypothetical 7% annual return on $1,000 is about $70 before considering taxes, fees, and market fluctuations. The same percentage applied to $50,000 is about $3,500. The percentage has not changed. The starting base has changed. This is why the first $10,000 is less about becoming wealthy and more about creating financial distance between yourself and the next emergency. That distinction matters. A $10,000 savings balance does not automatically make someone financially secure, and it certainly does not mean they can stop paying attention to their finances. But it can create something extremely valuable: flexibility. Flexibility changes the psychology of money. If your checking account contains almost exactly what you need for the month, every unexpected expense becomes a threat. You may need to use a credit card, borrow money, delay another payment, or reduce spending somewhere else. But when you have a reserve, the same expense can become an inconvenience rather than a crisis. The dollar amount of the repair has not changed. Your financial position has changed. This is where the concept of financial margin becomes important. Margin is the space between what your financial life requires and what your resources can handle. Someone earning $80,000 a year can have very little margin if most of their income is already committed to housing, transportation, debt, subscriptions, and lifestyle expenses. Another person earning less might have more flexibility if their recurring commitments are smaller. Income matters, but the structure around that income matters too. The first $10,000 also exposes one of the biggest misconceptions about saving: that the solution is simply to spend less on small purchases. Cutting a few coffees can help, but the largest financial decisions usually come from recurring expenses. Housing, transportation, insurance, debt payments, and major lifestyle commitments can influence the monthly budget far more than individual purchases. Saving $5 here and $7 there is useful, but creating another $300 or $500 of monthly financial capacity can change the entire trajectory. There is another psychological barrier hiding inside the goal itself. When someone sees a target of $10,000 while having $500, the distance feels enormous, but the brain tends to respond better to smaller milestones. The first $1,000 represents a beginning, then $2,500, $5,000, and eventually $10,000. The goal is still the same, but the psychological experience changes when progress becomes visible. This is also why automation can matter. If saving depends entirely on making the correct decision every month, spending will often win because spending produces an immediate reward, while saving produces a future benefit. Automatically moving a predetermined amount after receiving income reduces the number of decisions required. It does not create money, and it does not guarantee a particular result. It simply changes the default behavior. The deeper lesson is that saving the first $10,000 is not primarily a test of discipline. It is a test of financial structure. If your income barely covers your recurring obligations, motivation alone cannot solve the problem indefinitely. Eventually, the numbers have to change. That might mean increasing income, reducing fixed expenses, paying down expensive debt, building a larger cash buffer, or changing the way financial priorities are organized. And once the first meaningful reserve exists, something subtle happens. You stop thinking about every dollar only in terms of what it can buy today. Some dollars begin to represent time, flexibility, and protection from future decisions. Money becomes less about consumption and more about optionality. That is why the first $10,000 can feel so difficult. You are not simply accumulating a number in an account. You are building a buffer between your life and the financial shocks that can interrupt it. The first stage is slow because your contributions are doing most of the work. The psychological pressure is high because every unexpected expense can erase visible progress, and the system becomes easier to manage only when you create enough margin that your financial plan can survive ordinary disruptions. The important point is not that $10,000 is a magical number. For one person, the appropriate emergency reserve may be smaller. For another, it may need to be much larger. The real threshold is the point where your savings provide enough breathing room that an ordinary financial problem does not immediately become a financial crisis. The first $10,000 is therefore less about reaching a finish line and more about changing your position on the financial map. At zero, every setback feels like it can send you backward. With a meaningful reserve, setbacks can become manageable events. And once your financial foundation becomes stronger, the conversation changes from simply surviving unexpected expenses to deliberately deciding what your money should accomplish over time. That is the quiet reason the first $10,000 matters. It does not make you rich. It does not guarantee financial freedom. What it can do is create something much more practical: distance, flexibility, and a little more control over what happens next.